Do you have shoulder pain when pressing overhead? Feel like there's something pinching or limiting your range of motion? Problem isn't just in your shoulder, but often also your scapula. And if it's not positioned and moving right, it's a one-way ticket to pain and injury. But don't worry, by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what's causing your pain, how to test your scapula function, and the best exercises to fix it, so you can press pain-free and perform at your best. Let's begin with how you got here. When you lift your arm overhead, your shoulder joint doesn't act alone. Your scapula and humerus have to move together in a specific cadence called scapulohumeral rhythm. Imagine them working as a team. If one part isn't doing its job, the other overcompensates, leading to pain, impingement, and poor mobility. Now, before we fix anything, we need to do some testing. You'll need a training partner or a mirror for this part. To understand exactly what we're looking for, I've invited my friend, fellow physical therapist, and sports performance coach, Dr. Ed Pilgrim, to explain exactly how the shoulder blades should be positioned.
Thanks, Aaron. When evaluating the shoulder, the first thing we're going to look at is the resting position of the shoulder blade. Now, while the resting position of the shoulder blade might not tell us where that shoulder blade is going to end up with overhead movements, it will give us some important insights when it comes to determining which muscles might be short and stiff and which muscles might be long and weak. Now, there are 17 muscles that play a role in where that shoulder blade rests. Today, we're going to focus on 4 of those. Those 4 are the pec minor, the lower trap, the rhomboids, and the serratus. Those 4 muscles make up a force couple that's known as the scapular X. The first leg of the scapular X is made up of the lower trap and the pec minor. The lower trap will start at the spine here and attach to the shoulder blade right here. The pec minor starts on the front side here at the coracoid process and it attaches to the ribs here. Now, these 2 muscles play a very important role in making sure that that shoulder blade is sitting snug against the rib cage. When the shoulder blade's snug against the rib cage, it feels more stable, then it's more likely to move like we want it to. A problematic posture that we'll sometimes see in powerlifters and bodybuilders, just because of the amount of pressing they do in their sport, is a forward shoulder and an anteriorly tilted shoulder blade. So you're kind of hanging off the rib cage, and you can see that if you look at somebody from the backside. Now, this can sometimes suggest that the pec minor is short and stiff, and the lower trap on the backside is long and weak. So if you want to correct this problem, you're going to try to lengthen pec minor and you're going to try to strengthen lower trap, which is going to posteriorly tilt the shoulder blade and make sure that it's hugging the rib cage. The second leg of the scapular X is made up of the rhomboids and the serratus muscles. The rhomboids start at the spine and they attach to the inside border here of the shoulder blade. They're then picked up by the serratus muscle, which starts on the inside border of the shoulder blade and it wraps around the rib cage here. So there's 2 things that we're looking for when assessing scapular position and determining if the rhomboids and the serratus are in balance with one another. The first of which, we want to see a shoulder blade that's about 3 finger widths away from the spine here. Anything less than 3 finger widths could be interpreted as the rhomboid being short and stiff. The second thing that we're looking for is we want to see that shoulder blade starting in about 5 degrees of upward rotation. Now, because of the way that the rhomboid muscles are oriented, they kind of run down this direction. So if we have a stiff rhomboid muscle, it'll pull that shoulder blade down and towards the spine. And so if you're starting with anything less than 5 degrees of upward rotation of the shoulder blade, you could also interpret that as a stiff rhomboid.
So now that we know how your shoulder blades should be positioned, let's see whether or not they're moving correctly. While in a standing position, raise one arm at a time while you film or a friend watches your scapular motion. Do you shrug excessively or notice your shoulder blade initially pulls in towards the spine? Ideally, we should see about 55 to 60 degrees of upward rotation. Now that you know what's possibly going wrong, let's see if we can fix it. Before we move on, quick question. What do your shoes look like right now? If they come to a point, that's a problem. Shoes like that crush your toes together, limiting how your foot naturally stabilizes. And when your foot can't stabilize, your lifting suffers. That's why I teamed up with Tier to design 3 different gym shoes that all have a wide toe box to solve this problem. The Drop Zero Barefoot Trainer is ultra flexible, so your foot can move naturally and has a very drippy outsole. The L2 weightlifting shoe was built for stability, and it's the first weightlifting shoe in the world with a truly wide toe box so your foot can actually do its job under load. And for the elite lifter out there, the Tier Force Elite Carbon Lifter. It has the same stable base, but a full carbon footplate. So if you care about your movement health and performance, that has to extend to the shoes you put on your feet. After this video, head on over to tier.com and pick up your pair today. I'm going to show you a 4-step approach that works on reducing overactive muscles, improving mobility, activating the serratus anterior to improve motor control, and ends with strengthening the shoulder. The first step will be to decrease tone in overactive muscles with a ball. If your pec minor is tight, trapping a ball against a wall like this should bring out some tenderness. This muscle pulls your scapula into an anterior tilt. Toning down the pec minor makes it easier for the lower trap to properly position the scapula when the arm goes overhead. Next, let's move to your rhomboids. These muscles pull the scapula inward and restrict upward rotation. Releasing them lets your serratus do its job. So if you find a tender spot, pause and perform a few arm raises over and back. Next, we need to improve the ability of your scapula to move with a single arm foam roller lat stretch. Start in an all fours position with a foam roller placed at a diagonal. Drop your chest and slide your arm across your body on the roller, feeling for your shoulder blade rotating off your body as far as possible. Perform a few reps with a 5-second hold at the end range. After, we need to wake up your serratus anterior muscle. This is the muscle responsible for upward rotation of the scapula. There are 3 motor control drills that we can use for this purpose, but you can pick the one that you like the best for your program. The quadruped serratus slide is first. Think about reaching your upper body away from the roller, rounding your upper back, and rotating your shoulder blade off the sides of your body as you slide the roller away. A deep exhale at the end should bring out a slight cramping sensation around your lateral armpits. That's your serratus muscle working hard. You can also perform this variation in standing with the foam roller against a wall. The same cues apply. Reach your body away from the roller, round your upper back, and rotate your shoulder blades off your body as you exhale and slide the roller up the wall a little bit. Next is the kettlebell bottoms up carry. To start, position your elbow just slightly below the top of your shoulder with the wrist and elbow stacked directly underneath the kettlebell. While gripping the bell tightly and your core tight, start walking forward and back. Keeping a hand on your stomach can help you ensure that you don't incorrectly lean back into too much extension. Now the very last step is to add some load and perform some strength work. And to explain the exercise we're going to use for this purpose, let's again listen in to Ed.
The landmine press is hands down one of my favorite exercises for shoulder health, and it's really good for encouraging that shoulder blade to rotate up and around the rib cage. So there's 3 coaching points that we're going to go over today. The first one has to do with the starting position. So when we start a landmine press, we might have the barbell slightly in front of the shoulder and slightly outside of the shoulder like Aaron's doing right here. One of the compensations that we see is if you start too deep in the motion, now all of a sudden, you're either going to arch your low back to get out of that starting position, or if he comes back down, the second option is you're going to shrug through that upper trap. So if we want to ensure that we're starting in a good position, we're slightly in front of the shoulder, slightly to the outside of the shoulder, now he can drive through the bar as he's pressing. So that brings us to our second point. The second thing we're looking for is when he presses, we want him to drive through the bar. When he drives through the bar, that allows us to train in a full range of motion and encourage that shoulder blade to rotate all the way up. Now, if he was to not drive through the bar, there's a couple of things that happen. Once again, he could arch his low back to press overhead, or 2, it just turns into a horizontal press, okay? So to ensure that we're training a full range of motion, drive your body through the bar, so that way that shoulder blade rotates all the way up like we're looking for. The last thing we're looking for is rotation of the torso here. If he rotates his torso away from the bar slightly, that's going to encourage that serratus muscle to kick on, which is going to get that shoulder blade to wrap around the rib cage and rotate all the way up like we're looking for.
Now, if you're still struggling with shoulder pain even after these tips or any other injury, check out my injury fix book, Rebuilding Milo. It'll walk you through the exact steps I take to screen and work with some of the best athletes in the world. I'll have a link for that book in the show notes of this video. Now, if the tips did help you with your pain and pressing overhead, you may be interested in this video I did with the 2019 World's Strongest Man, Martins Licis, on technique tips for pressing overhead.